I have heard that on one occasion the Blessed One was staying near Rājagaha in the bamboo forest, the Squirrels Sanctuary. Now on that occasion, questions had been assigned to Sabhiya the wanderer by a devata who was a former relative of his. Sabhiya, if any contemplative or Brahmin, when asked these questions, answers them, live the holy life in his presence. Then Sabhiya the wanderer, having learned these questions in the presence of that devata, went to those who had communities and groups, who were the teachers of groups, well known, prestigious, founders of sects, well regarded by people at large, i.e., Prakasapa, Makali Gosala, Ajita Kasakambalan, Pakuta Kakayana, Sanjaya Velahaputa, and the Nikaha Nipata, and asked them the questions. But they, being asked the questions by Sabhiya the wanderer, were unable to answer. Unable to answer, they showed anger, aversion, and displeasure, and even turned the questions back on Sabhiya the wanderer.
The thought occurred to Sabhiya the wanderer, these venerable contemplatives and Brahmins with communities and groups, who are the teachers of groups, well known, prestigious, founders of sects, well regarded by people at large, i.e., Prakasapa. And the Nikaha Nipata, when asked these questions by me, are unable to answer. Unable to answer, they show anger, aversion, and displeasure, and even turn the questions back on me. What if I were to revert to the lower life and partake of sensual pleasures?
But then the thought occurred to him, there is still this Gautama the contemplative. He has a community and group, he is the teacher of a group, well known, prestigious, founder of a sect, well regarded by people at large. What if I, having gone to him, were to ask him these questions? Then the thought occurred to Sabhiya the wanderer, now, those venerable contemplatives and Brahmins Prakasapa and the Nikaha Nipata are old, elderly, aged, along in their years, at an advanced stage of life, elders, senior, long gone forth, with communities and groups, teachers of groups, well known, prestigious, founders of sects, well regarded by people at large, even they, when asked these questions by me, were unable to answer. Unable to answer, they showed anger, aversion, and displeasure, and even turned the questions back on me. So how could this Gautama the contemplative answer when asked these questions? He is both young in age and newly gone forth.
But then the thought occurred to him, Gautama the contemplative is not to be despised as young or treated with contempt. Even though young, he is of great power and great might. What if I, having gone to him, were to ask him these questions? So Sabhiya the wanderer set out, headed for Rājagaha. Wandering by stages, he arrived at where the Blessed One was staying near Rājagaha in the bamboo forest, the Squirrels Sanctuary. On arrival, he exchanged courteous greetings with the Blessed One. After an exchange of friendly greetings and courtesies, he sat to one side. As he was sitting there, he addressed the Blessed One in verse.
Doubtful and uncertain, I have come, desiring to ask questions. Put an end to them. When asked them by me, answer me one by one, in line with the Dhamma. Sabhiya, said the Blessed One, you have come from afar, desiring to ask questions. I will put an end to them. When asked them by you, I will answer you one by one, in line with the Dhamma.
Then the thought occurred to Sabhiya the wanderer, isn't it amazing? Isn't it astounding? How even the leave, of which I didn't receive even a little bit from other contemplatives and Brahmins, has been granted to me by Gautama the contemplative. Gratified, joyful, exultant, enraptured, and happy, he asked the Blessed One a question.
Having attained what? Is one said to be a monk? In what way is one composed? And how is one said to be tamed? How is one called awakened? Answer, Blessed One, when I've asked you.
The Buddha. Having gone to total unbinding. Having crossed over doubt. By means of the path accomplished by himself. Having abandoned becoming and non-becoming. Having fulfilled the task, karma. Further becoming ended. He is a monk. Everywhere equanimous, mindful. He harms no one in all the world. A contemplative crossed over, limpid. He has no swellings. He is composed.
Whose faculties are developed. Within and without. With regard to all the world. Disenchanted with this world and the next. He awaits his time. Developed, his tamed. Having evaluated all theories. The wandering on. Dying and reappearing. Having done away with dust and blemish. Pure. He has attained the ending of birth. He is called awakened.
Then Sabhiya the wanderer delighting in and approving of the Blessed One's words gratified, joyful, exultant, enraptured and happy, asked the Blessed One a further question. Having attained what? Is one said to be a Brahmin? In what way is one a contemplative? And how is one washed? How is one called a Nga? Answer, Blessed One, when I've asked you.
The Buddha, having banished all evils, well-centered, stainless, firm in mind, gone entirely beyond, the wandering on, independent, such.
He's called a Brahman. Calmed, having abandoned good and evil. Dustless, having known this world and the next. Gone beyond birth and death. He is truly called a contemplative. Such.
Having washed off all evils. Within and without, in all the world. With regard to the theories of beings human and divine. He goes to no theory. He's said to be washed. He does no misdeed at all in the world. Having escaped all fetters and bonds. Freed, he's everywhere attached. Truly he's called a Nga. Such.
Then Sabhiya the wanderer delighting in and approving of the Blessed One's words gratified, joyful, exultant, enraptured, and happy, asked the Blessed One a further question. Whom do the awakened call a field victor? In what way is one skilled? And how is one wise? And how is one called? By the name of sage. Answer, Blessed One, when I've asked you.
The Buddha, having examined all fields, heavenly, human, and fields of the Brahmas, freed from the root bonds of all fields. He's truly called a field victor. Such. Having examined all storehouses, heavenly, human, storehouses of Brahmas, freed from the root bonds of all storehouses. He's truly called skillful. Such.
Having examined all white flowers, within and without, one of pure discernment, gone beyond dark and bright. He's truly called wise. Such. Knowing false and true Dhamma, within and without, in all the world. He is worshipped by beings, human and divine. Having transcended snares and nets. He is a sage.
Then Sabhiya the wanderer delighting in and approving of the Blessed One's words gratified, joyful, exultant, enraptured and happy, asked the Blessed One a further question. Having attained what? Is one said to be an attainer of knowledge? In what way is one well tested? And how is one persistent? Why is one named a thoroughbred? Answer, Blessed One, when I've asked you.
The Buddha, having examined all knowledges, those of Brahmins, those of contemplatives, devoid of passion for all feelings, gone beyond knowledge. He's an attainer of knowledge, having tested objectification, and name and form, within and without, the root of disease, freed from the root bond of disease. He's truly called well-tested. Such.
Abstaining from all evils. Gone beyond the suffering of hell. He's one with persistence. He, with persistence, exertion, is rightly called a hero. Such. One truly whose bonds are cut, within and without, freed from all the root bonds of snares. Truly he's called a thoroughbred. Such.
Then Sabhiya the wanderer delighting in and approving of the Blessed One's words gratified, joyful, exultant, enraptured and happy, asked the Blessed One a further question. Having attained what? Is one said to be learned? In what way is one noble? And how is one a person of good conduct? Why is one named a wanderer? Answer, Blessed One, when I've asked you.
The Buddha. Having heard, having directly known every Dhamma, for the sake of direct knowing in the world, whatever is blameworthy or blameless, having conquered, free of doubt, released, everywhere, everywhere, without trouble, one is said to be learned.
Having cut attachments and effluence, knowing, he does not come to lie in the womb, dispelling mud, and the three types of perception. He goes to no theory. He is called noble. Whoever here has attained attainment with regard to good conduct, all skillful, who has learned the Dhamma, unattached, everywhere, everywhere his mind released. He has no irritation. He is one of good conduct.
Avoiding whatever action there is that ripens in suffering and stress. Above, below, and even all around. In the middle. One who goes about, comprehending. He has put an all-around end to deceptiveness, conceit, greed, anger, name and form. He's called a wanderer. Attain to attainment.
Then Sabhiya the wanderer, delighting in and approving of the Blessed One's words, gratified, joyful, exultant, enraptured and happy, got up from his seat and, arranging his upper robe over his shoulder and placing his hands palm to palm over his heart toward the Blessed One, praised the Blessed One face to face with fitting verses.
One deeply discerning. You have crossed over the flood of darkness. Of the 63 views leading downward. Dependent on the teachings of contemplatives. Dependent on perceptions. And words of perceptions. You have gone to the end. You have gone to the further shore. Of suffering and stress.
You are a noble one. Rightly self-awakened. I would imagine that you have ended the effluence. Brilliant, thoughtful. Of abundant discernment. Ender of suffering. You have brought me across. When you learned of my doubt, you brought me across my uncertainty. Homage to you, sage attained. To the attainment of sagacity's ways. Free from rigidity, kinsman of the sun. You're composed.
The doubt I had before. You have answered, one with eyes. Yes, you are a sage, rightly self-awakened. You have no hindrances. Your despairs are fallen down, cut from the stem. Cooled, attained to self-control. Steadfast, enduring in truth. In your words, Naga of Nagas, great hero. All devas including Naradas and Pabatas. Delight.
Homage to you, O thoroughbred man. Homage to you, O superlative man. In the world with its devas, there's no one to compare with you. You, awakened. You, teacher. You, sage who has conquered Mara. You, having cut obsessions. Having crossed over. Bring this generation across.
Your acquisitions transcended. Your effluence torn apart. You are a lion. Free of clinging. Your fear and terror abandoned. As a lovely lotus is not smeared by water. You are not smeared by good or evil. Extend your feet, hero. Sabhiya venerates them. The feet of the teacher.
Then Sabhiya the wanderer, bending his head to the Blessed One's feet, said, Magnificent, Lord. Magnificent. Just as if he were to place upright what was overturned, to reveal what was hidden, to show the way to one who was lost, or to set out a lamp in the darkness so that those with eyes could see forms, in the same way has the Blessed One through many lines of reasoning made the Dhamma clear. I go to the Blessed One for refuge, to the Dhamma, and to the saga of monks. Let me obtain the going forth in the Blessed One's presence, let me obtain acceptance.
Anyone, Sabhiya, who has previously belonged to another sect and who desires the going forth and acceptance into this Dhamma and Vinaya, must first undergo probation for 4 months. If, at the end of 4 months, the monks feel so moved, they give him the going forth and accept him into the monk's state. But I know distinctions among individuals in this matter. Lord, if that is so, I am willing to undergo probation for 4 years. If, at the end of 4 years, the monks feel so moved, let them give me the going forth and accept me into the monk's state.
Then Sabhiya the wanderer obtained the going forth in the Blessed One's presence, he obtained acceptance. And not long after his acceptance, dwelling alone, secluded, heedful, ardent, and resolute, he in no long time reached and remained in the supreme goal of the holy life, for which clansmen rightly go forth from home into homelessness, knowing and realizing it for himself in the here and now. He knew, birth is ended, the holy life fulfilled, the task done. There is nothing further for the sake of this world. And so Venerable Sabhiya became another one of the Arahants.